Okay, so wow, you have really gone all out for this apartment hunt this time, huh? Newsletters and FAQs, even audio messages about these lofts at Saratoga Boulevard. I mean, you are not messing around.
It's impressive. It tells me you're really trying to get the inside scoop here and not, you know, go with the first thing you see.
Yeah.
So let's dive into all this and see what we can find out about what it might really be like to live at the Lofts beyond just like the marketing stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Because
Yeah.
they definitely make it seem pretty appealing in that department, right? Like modern amenities and being in a really good location. They're going for a sophisticated style and everything. Plus, they even won that award, didn't they? What was it called? Best Overall Community from the New York State Apartment Association?
Yeah, the awards are nice, but they don't tell you that much about what it's like to actually live there,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
And what I thought was more interesting was how they had all those resident testimonials scattered throughout all this material, like little quotes sprinkled everywhere.
Hmm.
And they all said pretty glowing stuff like high-end hotel and townhouse feel. Someone even said it felt spacious and comfortable, which is something you don't always get in an apartment.
Yeah, not at all. Okay, so let's try to cut through the fancy marketing stuff, though. What do you think makes the lofts actually stand out compared to other apartments in the area?
Well, for one thing, the layout's pretty different. They have these two-story units that are more like townhouses. And they even have attached garages, which is practically unheard of in an apartment complex. Can you imagine just pulling right into your own garage instead of having to park like a block away and walk with all your stuff?
Yeah.
It would be a game changer.
No kidding. And think about all the times you wouldn't have to haul groceries up 3 flights of stairs because yours was the only unit available. And on top of all that, they have dedicated office spaces in a lot of the units, which would be amazing for anyone who works remotely, part or even full time. Like,
Yeah, and it's not just that they have them, it's how they're presenting it. Like it really shows they understand how important it is to have a space dedicated to work. So you're not always just on your laptop from the couch.
yeah.
It's like they're saying, hey, we get it. Sometimes your home is your office too. And they plan for that.
Totally. But let's say you do need to leave the house. Or I guess I should say your specific unit. What do they have as far as amenities? Because I've heard they're really impressive.
Oh, they definitely did not skimp on the amenities.
Yeah, you can.
An indoor pool and spa that's open all year. I mean, come on, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And not only that, but they mentioned in one of the audio messages that residents who are CPR certified get extended access to the pool area. Yeah, which I thought was interesting.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's a nice little perk, I guess, if you're CPR certified. And it makes sense, too, because they can be more flexible with the hours if they know at least some of the people in the pool area know CPR.
Exactly. Like they're finding a way to give residents more freedom while still prioritizing safety, which is pretty smart. And speaking of amenities, they really went all out with their fitness centers. They have two, and they're adding even more equipment. According to their FAQs, they've already got treadmills, ellipticals, rowing machines, and even a Life Fitness multi-use machine. It's basically like having a full-blown gym right downstairs.
That's amazing. And speaking of, have you seen what they have for pets? Because I know that's important to you. They have a dedicated dog park, which is already a huge selling point for a lot of people. But it even has a dog wash station. Did you see that? I did. Can you imagine? No more muddy paw prints all over your apartment after it rains because you can just give your pup a quick wash before you even go back inside.
Yeah.
Genius.
For real. Yeah. Okay, and you know what else? They even sent out a newsletter to residents asking what kind of equipment they wanted to have in the dog park.
Mm-hmm.
Like they actually surveyed people to find out what they would use most. How cool is that?
That is really cool. They're really showing that they're paying attention to the residents and actually trying to make it a place people want to be long term, you know?
Right. It's not just about getting people to sign that lease. It's about making them want to stay.
Yeah.
And speaking of making things nice, did you see the plans for the clubhouse renovations? It sounds like they're really going all out. Oh, yeah. They sent out a whole newsletter about it. Lots of pictures and everything. The fitness center expansion's a total makeover for the main clubhouse area. And are you ready for this? A professional-grade golf simulator.
What? A golf simulator?
Yeah.
That is impressive. I mean, they're not messing around. It seems like they're really willing to invest in making this a great place to live.
Exactly. Which, honestly, is a really good sign for you as a potential resident. It shows they're not just going to take your money and run. They're actually trying to make the Lofts a place people love.
Mm-hmm.
And they're willing to put their money where their mouth is. Literally.
Totally. But it's not all about the material stuff, right? Like, yeah, they've got great amenities and they're doing these renovations and everything, but they also seem really focused on building a sense of community there, which is huge.
Absolutely. Their calendar of resident events is packed. Like they've got live music and trivia nights, of course. But then they have things like yappy hours and puppy yoga. It's clear they're trying to appeal to a bunch of different interests. and create opportunities for people to connect. And not just with other residents, but with their pets, too.
Aw, that's so cute. And it makes sense. A lot of apartment complexes kind of forget about the whole pet owner demographic, or they
Mhm.
treat them like an afterthought. But here it seems like they're really trying to make it a welcoming place for people with pets, which is smart because let's be real, pet people are everywhere, and we're always looking for places that are pet friendly.
So true. And it's not just about what's happening within the actual apartment complex itself. They're really encouraging residents to get out and explore the Round Lake area and support local businesses, which I thought was cool. Remember how they had that whole Shop Local Saturday feature in one of the
Oh,
newsletters?
yeah, that was really cool. They highlighted that brewery that's right down the street. What was it called again? Unified Beer Works. And that wine and liquor store, Bricks Wine and Liquor, they both seem really cool. I might have to check those out myself.
Right, so they're not just
Cool.
saying, hey, support local businesses.
Yep,
They're
yep.
actually going out and finding cool places and telling you about them.
Yeah,
It's like they're curating a whole social life for residents, or at least helping to get it started.
yeah, totally. Okay, so far this is all sounding pretty good. But now I'm curious about the less glamorous side of things, like what's the fine print? What do we need to know about the practicalities of actually living here? Because as amazing as everything sounds, there's always a catch, right?
True, that. But that's where these super detailed FAQs come in handy, because they really did think of everything.
Okay, so let's dive in then. Hit me with your best shot. What kind of practical details did they cover?
You name it, they covered it. They talk about lease renewals and early termination fees, which a lot of places try to avoid talking about. They go into detail about their pet policies and guest parking. Honestly, it's all right there in black and white.
That's great. Transparency is so important, especially when it comes to something as important as where you live.
Absolutely. And you know what else I thought was cool? They have a whole section on their website about the management company, Saratoga Management Services.
Mhm.
They talk about their customer service across all facets. Philosophy, which I thought was really interesting.
Well, that's a great point. Because, yeah, it's one thing for the apartment complex itself to be amazing, but if the management company is terrible, that can really ruin the whole experience.
Exactly. So the fact that they're highlighting their management company and their commitment to customer service up front really says a lot.
Wow.
It shows that they're confident in their management and that they believe in transparency.
For sure. Okay, so we've got the luxurious vibe, the strong community focus, and the tech-savvy approach. What else is there to know? Is there anything we missed?
Well, there is one more thing that I think is worth mentioning. And it ties back to something we discussed earlier, technology. Remember how they mentioned that AI attendant? Well, I did a little digging, and it's more than just a glorified voicemail system.
Oh, really? I was wondering about
No.
that. Tell me more. What else can it do?
So this AI attendant is available 24/7, and it can actually answer a wide range of resident questions, from basic things like what time the pool closes to more complex stuff like rent payments or even submitting a maintenance request. It's wild.
Wow, that's actually really impressive. It's like having a virtual concierge right at your fingertips, which makes sense considering how much they seem to value convenience and technology.
Exactly. It's all about making life easier for residents.
Yeah.
And this AI attendant seems like a game changer, especially for those late night, oh no, what do I do moments when the management office is closed.
Totally. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Amenities, community management, technology. Is there anything else in this mountain of information you've collected that you think we should touch on?
I think we've hit all the major points.
Yeah.
But now it's time to really see how it all aligns with your priorities. Because at the end of the day, the perfect apartment is the one that fits your lifestyle, your values, and of course, your budget.
So true. All great points. Okay, so let's take a deep dive into your priorities and see how the Lofts measures up. Because finding the right apartment isn't just about checking off boxes on a wish list. It's about finding a place that feels like home.
Couldn't agree more. So let's start with, let's see. Yes, location, location, location. Well, get ready to maybe be surprised.
Yeah.
Malta's really nice. It's like this charming little town, nestled in Saratoga County. But it's got the best of both worlds, really, because it's close enough to Saratoga Springs that you can go enjoy all the excitement there, but it still has that more laid-back, small-town vibe.
Oh, that's nice. It's like you get the excitement without all the chaos.
Exactly. And in terms of practicality, like you were asking about, Malta's had a lot of growth recently. So there's tons of options for shopping and dining now. Everything from those big box stores to cute little boutiques and restaurants.
That makes sense. And speaking of local spots, didn't the Lofts newsletter mention something about a brewery and a wine liquor store that are nearby?
They did Unified Beer Works and Bricks Wine and Liquor,
Right.
both within walking distance, which says something about the area too, I think.
Yeah, like it's attracting those more trendy spots that are on the higher end, kind of like the Lofts itself.
Exactly. It all kind of hits together.
Yeah.
And don't forget about the easy access to the highway. They really emphasize that in their materials. So you could be enjoying a craft beer at that brewery 1 minute and then heading off to explore Saratoga the next.
That's awesome. Okay, so we've covered a lot, I think, amenities community, the management company, even the location. What else is there? Anything we missed?
Well, there's one more thing that I think is worth talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of relates back to something we were discussing earlier, the whole technology aspect. Specifically, that AI attendant they mentioned. Remember how I said it was more than just a voicemail system?
Oh, yeah, I was curious about that. What else can it do?
So it's available 24/7, obviously.
Yeah.
And it can answer all kinds of questions. Like you can ask it basic stuff like what time something closes, but you can also get into more complicated things like rent payments or even submitting a maintenance request through
No.
it.
Okay, so it's like actually intelligent, not just like a robot reading a script.
Right. It's definitely a step above your typical automated system.
Yeah.
And I bet it's super helpful for residents, especially if something comes up late at night and you need an answer right away. You don't have to wait for the management office to open in the morning.
That's amazing. Honestly, it seems like they've really thought of everything, which I have to give them credit for. A lot of places would be content with just the bare minimum, but the Lofts seems to be going above and beyond.
I agree. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves. All of this is great, but we still need to see how it aligns with what you're looking for in an apartment. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter how great something is on paper if it's not the right fit for you.
So true. Guys, so let's shift gears a little bit then and talk about what matters most to you when it comes to finding a new place.
Okay, sounds good. So let's start with, we've talked a lot about the whole strong sense of community thing, but I'm curious, what does that actually look like to you? Like when you picture yourself living in a place with a great sense of community, what are you picturing?
That's a good question. I guess for me, it's about, I don't know, just feeling like I belong there, Like I'm not just another face in the crowd. And like maybe I'll actually get to know my neighbors and we can hang out sometimes.
Yeah, so it's about more than just attending a monthly event or something. It's about those day-to-day interactions and feeling like you're part of a community.
Exactly. Like I don't need to be best friends with everyone in the building, but it would be nice to feel comfortable saying hi to people and maybe even grabbing coffee or something once in a while.
Right. It's about feeling a sense of belonging and connection, which honestly can be hard to find, especially in a transient city like this, where everyone's always coming and going.
Totally. And it seems like the Lofts really gets that, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
But you're right, it's all about finding a place that feels like home, not just a place to sleep and eat.
Exactly. And speaking of feeling at home, how important is it to you to live in a place where you feel heard? Like if you had an issue or concern, do you want to feel confident that the management would actually listen and take you seriously?
Oh, 100%. That is so important. Honestly, one of my biggest pet peeves is when you live somewhere and you have a problem, but the management just brushes you off or acts like you're being a burden. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm paying to live here. The least you can do is listen to my concerns.
Right. It's about feeling respected and valued as a resident, not just like a source of income,
Yeah.
And it sounds like the Lofts is really trying to cultivate that kind of atmosphere where residents feel comfortable voicing their opinions and know that they'll be taken seriously. But again, it all comes down to what's important to you.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've talked about community and feeling heard. What else should we add to the list?
Let's see. We've touched on it a few times, but I think it's worth digging a little deeper into the whole technology aspect because the Lofts definitely seems to be on the cutting edge in that regard.
Yeah, it's definitely not something you see everywhere.
For sure. So let's think about that for a second. How do you feel about the idea of managing most of your living experience digitally? Like paying rent through an online portal or submitting maintenance requests that way? Are you comfortable with that kind of thing?
Yeah, I'm good with all that. Honestly, the more I can do online, the better. I hate having to call or go in person for stuff.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a point in favor of the Lofts then, because it seems like they've really embraced that whole digital approach. But let's say for a minute that you weren't as comfortable with technology. Do you think that would be a deal breaker for you?
It would depend, I guess. Like if they had absolutely no other option for paying rent or whatever, then yeah, that would be a problem. But if they had other ways to do things, even if it was just as a backup, then I wouldn't mind so much.
Okay, that's good to know. So it's not just about whether you like using technology. It's about whether the place you're living is flexible enough to accommodate different preferences and levels of comfort with technology.
Exactly, because not everyone is super tech savvy, and even if you are, sometimes it's just nice to talk to a real person,
100%. Okay, so we've talked about technology and how important flexibility is, but let's loop back to the community aspect for a minute, because we've talked a lot about how much the Lofts seems to prioritize building a sense of community among residents. But how important is that to you?
Yeah, it's definitely important. I mean, I'm not looking to move into a place and immediately make a bunch of best friends, but it would be nice to feel like I'm part of something, Like I'm not just living in a building full of strangers.
Right, like you're not just a number on a lease agreement, you're
Hmm.
part of a community.
Exactly. So I guess what I'm saying is I don't need to be best friends with my neighbors, but it would be cool to be able to say hi to people and maybe even hang out once in a while if the opportunity presented itself.
Yeah, like a friendly face,
Yeah.
someone you recognize.
Exactly.
Makes sense. And it sounds like the Lofts really does try to create those opportunities for interaction, like with
Yeah.
all those resident events and everything.
Right, which is awesome. But you're also right that you can't force these things. Like,
Yeah.
people have to actually want to be a part of the community for it to work.
100%. It has to be genuine. Okay, so last but not least, let's talk about the whole resident satisfaction thing. Just
Yeah.
because we've touched on this throughout our deep dive, but it's worth emphasizing. It really seems like the Lofts goes above and beyond to make sure their residents are happy. From their ridiculously detailed FAQs to their willingness to invest in things like that huge clubhouse renovation.
Yeah.
It's clear they're not just in it for the money.
Yeah, you can really tell that they're invested in making this a great place to live, not just a place to collect rent checks.
Exactly. And for me, that says a lot
Hmm.
because it shows that they care about the people who live there and they're willing to put in the effort to make it a positive experience, which is honestly kind of rare to find, especially in the world of apartment rentals.
So true. It's like they're actually trying to build a community here, not just a bunch of units.
Right, and that's something special.
It really is. Oh, I think you've given me a lot to think about. This has been super helpful.
I'm glad to hear that. But remember, this is just the beginning.
Yeah.
Now it's up to you to take all of this information and see how it aligns with your priorities and your gut feeling. Because at the end of the day, you're the one who's going to be living there.
So true. Okay, well, I'm off to schedule a tour. Wish me luck.
Good luck.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll find the perfect place.
Thanks. I hope so. And thanks again for all your help. You're a lifesaver.
Anytime. That's what I'm here for. Happy apartment hunting.